It's got garbage around everywhere. It was all the moles. You have to kill all the moles. Yeah, that's the thing. Okay, so let me just play through it real quick. It's not a particularly lengthy thing, because some of y'all may have played different versions. So there's a muncher that drops right on your head that is covered by the message of you have to beat the moles. Of course, just jumping on that mole is not ever the answer in this level. The reason that muncher is there is to make you hold right. Because we'll see that there's a trigger on holding left at the beginning. And I want the player to notice here that if they had held left, they would be screwed, right? Because they would be behind that muncher. That never actually really got communicated, but anyway. So you hit the switch, you get your mushroom. There's a fun little troll here where the mushroom jumps out of your reach and you end up in here. And that justifies the existence of this note block on a track. And this is a slightly frustrating, but definitely possible, mini anti-soft block. Of course, there are no checkpoints, so you can just start over. But if you jump up here and then jump up there, that mole falls down in the only safe-looking part of the screen as well, which is just great. It's a little bit spaghetti, I will admit, but for the format that it's in, I don't think it's that big of a problem. So you get your SMB2 mushroom, and you dig in there, and you get a key from the muncher over there so that you can get in the door. Now, before I go in the door, there's a bunch of springs that fall and give me a star. If I enter this room with a star, and I don't know if either of you played a version with the star or saw this room, but you end up over here. Bart, I don't... Oh, you saw this too? Okay. Right, so that works as long as there is no P-switch. So as long as the P-switch is off, if you go in with a star, that will happen. And it will not happen... Oops. I'm trolling myself here. There's a dumb Kaizo block that looks just like a dumb Kaizo block, but will be important in a moment. So I'm just gonna stand here. That's the easy way to get it. And then you're tall, so you're above the Kaizo block here. Then you come through here. So we are entering here in blue state with SMB2 mushroom and nothing else. And we get immediately forced into here. Because I didn't have a star, I landed on the thwomp and was pushed this way by the spring. We're now in a hint room that says no note block, no on-off, no SMB2 mushroom. Instead, go up here, do this. Getting the hints to be... The hardest part of this was getting the setup to work at the same time as the hints being legible. We have this hilarious anti-soft block, which these bombs cannot kill you. I'm going to use this again in a level with an actual checkpoint, I think, just because it's really funny to me. That's as far as the bombs will ever get. They get stuck in a loop. And if the only thing you can do is go back through the door, at which point some spawn block stuff appears. You get a P-switch and a POW to reveal the word fish and a fish in your face. Okay. So next thing is the note block, which a lot of people made it harder for themselves by ducking. I wish, if I had more time to work on this, I'm not quite sure how I would... The problem was I used to have a cloud block right here above, but at least one player got confused about the next knowledge checkpoint and decided to mash A here. So now there's, for the mash A bit, there's no other place to mash A other than under this Kaizo block. Which makes that knowledge checkpoint easier to get. So you get ferried around, you get that. If you're not careful, you'll get this mushroom. In which case you can't get out of here without destroying the block under the door. You'll get GameCube music, and you can't go in the door because you destroyed the block underneath it. There's still one soft block in here that I was too lazy to fix. But I think Trix found it in his playthrough. So you have to not get the mushroom, come up here. If you hit this block, the spring, it destroys both the block and the POW. The spring falls on you and boots you over to the right. You have to actually go in what looks like the death box and use your spiky helmet to get out, sword those guys, and continue. Okay, we don't have a star, so we bounced on the Wiggler guy there. We take 2 points of damage, exactly. And I had to remove a place to mash here, because the player got confused and mashed there. But you get the message mash A, and you are soft locked unless you figure this out. Which is mash A here, receive mushroom, and then grab the POW that is under the bridge. So if you do that, what's going to happen is, ideally, well, one thing that might happen is you get stuck in here, because I trained you that you have to stand here to receive it, otherwise it goes somewhere else. But it turns out when this block is here, when the hidden block is activated, the mushroom bounces to the left. So actually, the safe place to stand now to receive the mushroom is over here. And you can grab this POW, clear a spot for yourself. You actually can't go down here, but now you have an SMB2 mushroom and you can go through here. And this is the first time we're entering the room in red state. In red state, we once again take 2 points of damage from poison mushrooms. There's a ceiling up there, and we get ferried right into here, into this room, which says hold left. I mean, most people just hold left because the words say hold left, but these guys can't hurt you because they only ever go one block above your head. There's some stars in there, and this is just a pit. So, you hold left at start. And then you have to stand here to get the mushroom again, so that you can get through the door. And then there's a P-switch. It's a little hard to notice that there's a P-switch because you have an SMB2 mushroom and it just plays regular SMB music. But there is a P-switch. There's a bunch of P-switch repeaters. You get a hint saying get the star. And there's a spring, if you notice, in the bottom left-hand corner right there. In the bottom left-hand corner right there, there's a spring, and the purpose of that spring is just to place you right underneath the moles. Because a lot of players will look at this and be like, am I soft-locked? And no, if you press the jump button, you'll die to the moles. But left plus star, so you need to do what you did again, but this time get the star. Hold left to start. I'll go through how that works in a second. The hold left was the first piece of tech that I made for this room, and then I decided to keep adding layers. So now I want the star. If I enter this room with a star, it really doesn't matter how much longer the star has, because the way that I do this detection is not a star detector, it's a big detector. Because if you have the star, then those poison mushrooms won't make you small. So as long as you still have the star by the time you get the first poison mushroom, which is fairly early, you'll get a switch. Or sorry, you won't get a switch. So you'll be able to get through here. And then these are just a couple of dumb timing fills. I ferry you along here, the final mole appears over here, and there's a spike right there, and if you hold right, you hit springs and end up on the spike by holding right. So the answer is just to hold left and then jump to get the thing. So let's look at it in the editor. It's got garbage around everywhere. And then I have one more cheeky Kaizo block here, just because. Okay. So, first question, how do you kill all of the moles if one of them is stuck on this track? Well, when you start, you're in red state. When you load up here, you're in blue state. So mole just comes all the way over here and ends up here. You kill it with the star on your way down. It helps also to obfuscate what's kind of going on over here in these springs in the corner. So, the first time through, nothing really nefarious is happening. You are hitting the switch, receiving a mushroom. It was all the moles. You have to kill all the moles. Yeah, that's the thing. I was hoping that would be a little more prominent. I don't think a lot of players noticed that. But yeah, you have to kill all of the moles, and you do in fact kill all of the moles. This is the mole from the beginning. And that's actually the reason that it flies down here. Like, it seemed like just a dumb troll, but the reason that it flies down here is that it has to be on a track. And I ran out of room to have the track down here. In an earlier version, there's the Y track here, and it would just kind of like raise up onto here. But I needed to have tracks for other stuff in here, and it just made more sense to have it up there. Okay, so the first time you'll come through here in blue state, and let me just make my little test rig here. So, I'm gonna have an SMB2 mushroom in blue state. Please. That area is just kind of trolly when I try to do this. And here, nothing will happen. I land on the thwomp, doing 1 point of damage, after I grab a link sword down here. It is possible to re-enter this pipe, as Bart discovered. What happens now is that there's a spawn-blocked launcher here, blocked by this block, which gets immediately destroyed by this bomb. So if you were to reload the room, this ice block would cause you to be double blocked immediately. So that eliminates any reload cheese, which was definitely found. But for now, let me just delete this so we can see. All of this will immediately be destroyed. So, let's, oops. Ah! Ah! Sound effects everywhere. Okay. Cool. So what happens up here? Because we are in blue state, this is spawn blocked. You see a blue block down there. This is also spawn blocked, because it's over P-switch block, or regular blocks here. I didn't use P blocks because I didn't want to increase suspicion. I just used regular blocks that sort of function the same for spawn blocking. Similarly with this, which we'll see later. Because I don't have a Shelmet, I don't break the scroll stop, and this just stays as a scroll stop right here. Cool. If I have a star, instead of bouncing on this guy, which has a coin behind it, by the way, that'll be important later, I will drop straight through, killing the Wiggler. I will kill the Thwomp. I'll still receive the Link Sword, but I'll kill the Thwomp. Go straight down here. And I will land on this platform, this tracked platform, which will have a spring on it. So if I look at just how this moves... let me turn off auto-scroll real quick. Though that's going to break a few other things, so I'll have to turn it back on. But just to look at how that moves, by the time you're down here, there's a spring coming to boop you over. Janine from the future here. The timing-based setup that you just saw turned out not to work because you can stall in the air using the Link Sword and a ground pound. So we actually can't depend on the timing of when you get down here. The hardest part of this yeet here is that the player is on the very left edge of the screen, and getting the player off the left edge of the screen is not particularly easy. So the way that I accomplish it now is by tossing a bumper into your face, which the bumper will just pass through you, and after it's done passing through you, it'll yeet to the right. Once I've got you off of the left edge of the screen, it's fairly straightforward to just put you on a blue skull platform with a spring on it. One thing that I discovered as doing this, which apparently is common knowledge, but I did not know it at the time, is that while ice blocks will actually stop the spring that is on the skull platform here, as you can see, the spring stops there at the ice block. These icicles will allow the spring to remain on the skull platform and keep following you all the way in here. This is just a much, much, much simpler setup for that. I also added a bunch of sound effects and stuff to further hide this hint up here. And back to you, Janine from the past. I destroyed this. This one I do use a star detector. So this scroll stop will get destroyed if you enter the room with a star. However, there's a P block right there. So when you have the P switch on later, and you enter with a star, this won't activate. Basically, if you haven't seen a star detector before, this the poison mushroom tries to follow you if you don't have a star, but it tries to run away from you if you do have a star. That's gonna boop this note block and boop this muncher to the left. Giant munchers get booped by note blocks. It's really, really useful. I only found that out while building this level. And it will boop it into this bomb, which destroys this and switches on off. I don't remember why I'm switching on off. I'm not sure it's necessary anymore. But yeah, these boom booms, which I apparently forgot to replace, are there because when you get no star, though, I don't want you to see this hint. I want to actually cover it up. And they're going to end up on this track here, representing the mole in the room. And they also form the no signs here. So that's how the star thing works. You just drop through all of this, and you'll end up right here. Star detector here will blow up this wall. So, on the next time through, I'm entering also in blue state, but I am Link, and I have a Shelmet. So the first way that I break the vertical scroll stop is by using the player's head. You bounce on that wiggler, and since you have a Shelmet... Oh, and because I turned auto-scroll off, that didn't work. The poison mushroom didn't spawn. And I'm going to... what am I going to delete? I'm just going to move that to spawn block for a second. No, not that one. Move the bomb to spawn block for a second. This is just incredibly trolly, because it switches the switch back on me. For a reason that I have not figured it out. But yeah, you take 2 points of damage and you end up hitting. And that is literally just spawning. I use the player's head to break this. These guys have a really nice property in that they're not going to squish you against a thing, but they'll just carry you up until you hit your head against something. And by the time you've gotten here, you've lost your Shelmet. You also actually have to be bouncing to break this, which is why the wiggler's here. So you bounce and break. This is a nice little lock and key system I had to come up with. So it's very important that you can't get into old hint rooms. Here. Like that was a thing that I had to take extra precaution. So I came up with this system where there's a cloud block right there. And as our tracked platforms come up, this guy's gonna lift and land on that cloud block. But that means that the only way to get into this area is to come up on the lift, allow the lift to pass that portion, and then fall down. So if this isn't here, you're not getting into the room. Because the launcher will be there as you come up, and then you're gonna be on the lift and pass this spot. I use that twice in here. There's another one right here that's a little bit harder to see, but it's pretty much the same system. This is just a lot of like weird ways to ferry a player through and restrict the path that they can go on. This is reversed because you enter here in blue state. And this has a bunch of crap in it to destroy the room in later sections, which I'll get to. But then you're in this little room where you have to learn to mash the thing and do the thing. So, this guy, spawn distances vertically are different if you have auto-scroll on, by the way. This is a thing that I learned while making this level. This will spawn when you are here. Because I have fast auto-scroll, and the game will eagerly load more stuff from above if fast auto-scroll is on, which kind of makes sense when you think about it, because you're going to be going up faster because the auto-scroll is fast. But yeah, so this will spawn. Janine from the future here again. It turned out that hint wasn't quite so clear. I think both Geek and DGR had plenty of trouble with it. So this is cleaned up significantly. I got rid of the... Originally that was supposed to say no bumper, but it's actually really hard to cross out a bumper because tracks go behind them. So I just left that out, and I just said no note blocks, no on-off, no spring, no link, and circled it as best as I could. It's still kind of a problem in the published level, but what do you do? So that's what's going to happen this time. The next time you come through is when you mash A. And when you mash A, you don't have to hit the on-off. And hopefully this is the one point where, like, the hint is actually very important. You have to not hit the on-off. So we're just going to enter in red state. Now I use a spike ball to destroy that scroll stop. I destroy that entire room. And something went wrong. I didn't reconnect my tracks. So you bounce on the Wiggler again and get put on these track platforms, and you end up here. And then you see that lock and key system work. There's no way to get into the old hint room. Like, the launcher is here, it's following me up, and then it falls down, and I can't get back down there to the track platform. So, in order to get up here, I have to break this scroll stop. And because of the way the track platform works, literally all I have to do... That is not technically a soft lock, but it is annoying. Literally all I have to do is break the scroll stop. If I break the scroll stop, by the time the player gets to a particular place, you will end up in the next area and not be allowed into the previous area. Because in order to get into one of these areas, you need to hit your head on a thing and fall down. Which is kind of how I set up the progressive hint room thing. So that's literally just spawn blocking. This guy is spawn blocked except for in red state. And this is the only time that you ever enter in red state. So I can do a lot of fun spawn blocking here. All of these spike balls here are spawn blocked except for red state. They will come and destroy this room, so you don't see that hint. As well as this one, this launcher, which contains a giant spike ball, and it'll just destroy the room. I think there's a hidden one-way somewhere. Getting those giant spike balls not to hit this on-off switch in the hint was fairly difficult. But that's just placement of stuff. And then this launcher doesn't exist either, because it's spawn blocked by the regular block. The way that I break this scroll stop is with this giant spike ball here, which has to exist both when you're in red state and later when you have P-switch on. So this is just how I did that. Basically, you need one of these two blocks there to roll spike ball over and hit this. If both of them are missing, this is kind of how it looks when we come through the first time, when we're Link and Spike Helmet. This is going to drop and just break right there and be out of the way so that it does not break the scroll stop. But if at least one of these two is activated, this will roll over. That was the most compact way I found to do that sort of OR gate. So, how do I not break this scroll stop? That's fairly straightforward. This is just spawn blocked with a P-switch block. That's it. There is no P-switch, so this spike ball doesn't exist. So you just end up here. You are screen locked to here, and you end up right there. This launcher doesn't exist. You go through the door. Third time through, we will have a P-switch, and I'll get to how I get there to be a P-switch in a second, because you don't actually hit a P-switch at any point. You will also be in blue state, for reasons that I will go over in a moment. Use the cloud block. So we're going to be in blue state with P-switch on. Now, the coin down there means that the star doesn't matter anymore. Lock and key again, and we end up here. So, with P-switch on, this spike ball will exist, and that's what breaks the scroll stop here. this P block is there, so we break the scroll stop there. Lock and key still doesn't let you into this room. This launcher will exist, and therefore you can't go in the door. But also, this launcher exists, which by the time you get up here is going to have fallen onto that blue skull platform. And even if you jump up fast and activate the skull platform, this is tall enough that it still functions as a lock and key. So it won't get swept away by the blue platform because it'll be against these guys. And you're not going to be able to get in here at all. This guy exists and breaks the scroll stop here. All of these turn to coins as you come up, and then these P blocks will be activated. But you don't have a star. So you have taken 2 points of damage, one from this and one from this, and they're forced to be spaced out enough that you can't just invincibility frames through it. So this is a fairly basic... The way I detect the star is actually by detecting a progressive power-up. So this is a giant mushroom, which is just hilarious to me. It exists if you're small, but if you're big, it's spawn blocked because the giant mushroom is too big to fit in that area. And this is, once again, the mushroom booping a launcher over into a bomb kind of setup. That's going to switch the switch back into red state if you are small. So because we came in here without a star, by the time we load this area vertically, we are small from having taken 2 points of damage. So what happens when the switch switches? First of all, you can't get through the pipe, just in general. So even if you somehow galaxy brained a way to kill these moles, you would not be able to get through the pipe. You'd have to just die here. That's sort of insurance. The other thing that the switch does is these stars here. These stars only exist if you've loaded in blue state. So if you load in red state, they'll just end up here forever. If you load in blue state, they're going to come up. And if the switch switches back, they're going to come over here and fly onto this track right here. If you have not switched the switch in time, they're going to be right here around the castle flag that I've sort of condescendingly circled as, hint, beat the level. Have you tried touching the flagpole? But the screen will continue to scroll. Also because we've destroyed this block, so the scroll stop is destroyed, and you scroll up to here and see the hint. And that's the final loop. So if we come in through here with a star, this will be spawn blocked, so you will get no switch. The stars, because you load in blue and no switch, will come over here and end up here, so you'll get another star. It doesn't actually matter how long you have on the star. You come in here, you kill all the moles, and you come through here. And now we are in blue state, because I had red blocks on the other side. So this mole is going to come over here onto that. Weird thing about custom scroll is that this block has to be broken before I load in here. Just to show you what happens if it's not, let me just load in. Like this. You get another star here automatically. Screen scrolls down. Even if I had, and I know that's partly because these guys are too past the screen scroll, so they don't load, but even if they did load and destroy this block, which I'm just gonna... let's make it a small bomb and just like immediately destroy that as fast as possible. the screen will still not scroll to the right, it will scroll down. And you'll die to screen scroll. So let me undo all that. Right, going through pipe is an undoable action. So, that's why these guys are to the right. I don't know, man. So it was very important that when you load in here from this door, I break this scroll stop as fast as possible. Though, honestly, once I added the star layer, it's not as important because in order to get here, you had to have waited for the pipe to spawn a star, at which point this will be blown up. This gap is here because when we first load, when this area first loads, the block on the track is enough to push it over. This block on the track is then blown up and it stays blown up forever. But the bomb will respawn. And then if these blocks are not there when you load the room later, the bomb will just fall down and be out of sight and not be a giant bomb in your face. That was a little bit tricky to figure out, but yeah, so when you come in here, there is an explosion up here that destroys this scroll stop. But because we're already scrolled to the goalposts, it doesn't matter for scroll in that case. So that way, when you load in here, you can properly scroll the screen to the right and not die to screen scroll as the screen kind of goes like this. Okay, so I think that is the entirety of that room. This is just 2 springs on a track. Like, we're not... This took a little bit of time to, like, figure out how to make sure the player can't die, but also is forced to fall down the hole. Just a lot of moving tracks around and making sure you don't get crushed between springs and blah, blah, blah. These springs took a really long time to time correctly, but I believe that as they're done right now, there's no point while you're falling down here that there isn't a spring to the right of you. Janine from the future here. If you've seen Defender's play of this level, you will know that he completely cheesed the ending of this. I think Geek did it too. I have changed a few things in here so that it is no longer possible to just, like, hold right at the exact right time and get in there. Basically, it just involved mucking about with springs, but goes to show, you gotta test very thoroughly. So I'm gonna put this back, and then we'll talk about the opening room, where all of the magic happens. Well, the other half of the magic happens. Okay, so first time through, pretty much nothing happens in this room, right? Nothing activates, nothing does anything. Second time through, you're getting Link, and that's what all of this garbage is for. A lot of this was just to make sure that you get the helmet and whatever. I went through a lot of, and also can't, like, spaghetti out of the contraption. Like, you are forced to go through the thing, no matter what you're holding or how many times you jump or whatever. Let me just delete this mole real quick so we can actually see. And also turn custom scroll off, so we can see even better. So first, let's just look at this area. This is where you come through. If you have not switched the switch state, and gotten rid of all of this stuff, this ice block will melt, allowing Muncher to fall on Bomb, destroy Bomb, and Spring to fall on top of it. Pretty straightforward. You're forced to get this helmet as it is sitting on a semi-solid. The hardest part of this was making sure that the player, even if they just do a regular tiny jump on the spring as it comes through. Let me actually just show it in action with this. Okay. So, the left-hand side of here, the entire purpose of it is to make sure that no matter what, if you bounce on this spring, you're going through the thing. The problem is, I can't have a semi-solid in there because a muncher needs to fall through. But a regular bounce on this spring is not going to be high enough to get you up to that semi-solid. So I do two things. For the first tile to force you to go up, you have upwards momentum inside of an on-off switch, which is going to switch by this thwomp trigger here. The second thing is this spring here. Which after the switch switches is going to come up and boop you up one more tile. It's a lot of garbage to just ensure that the player goes up one more tile, but like, I assure you, without that, people got very confused and like, because you're off screen, you don't know what's happening, right? So it has to be completely unavoidable that you go through all of this. Then this is just a skull platform with a spring on it, followed by some ice blocks. Ice blocks in SMB style, at the very least, are very, very effective at making sure that you can't avoid sliding. So there's no way to avoid this. You get momentum not only from the skull train, but also from the spring here, and just get yeeted over here. Fall down. And this is pretty much the same idea here. This used to be a lot more complicated, but that's the simplest way that it goes. You just get hit by a spring and you're on some ice, and that's enough to force you over here. So yeah, this took a lot of testing and refining. This is probably one of the hardest parts of the level, weirdly, is just making sure that this little, magically appear around the stage and in a different location, was completely unavoidable. But I learned a lot. This will have switched, because you switch with this thwomp trigger here. So you'll end up here, and you can't see this red block. This is below the visibility line. Visibility extends to here, I believe. Excuse me. That's all that is. This is just some dumb trolls that everything is on screen before. So I believe and then mashing A is just, you mash A and you get the thing, because the thing jumps when you jump. As soon as I saw that in that concept level, I was like, I want to use this as a knowledge checkpoint. Like, that is so cool. Which is one of the founding things for this level. So now let's talk about facing left. I'm gonna put this bomb back. Okay. Why does facing left at the beginning cause a P-switch to happen over here when you come through this door? The answer is thwomps. Thwomps in night mode ground act a little bit like boos. They try to follow you if you are facing away from them. So, if I am facing away from this thwomp at the very beginning, and spawned higher up in the... Actually, let me just test from this arrow spot, because that's approximately where So if I'm facing away from the Thwomp is going to try and rise up to hit me. The most important thing that does is not switch the switch, because there's a bunch of switching going on over here. Having a switch is nothing special. The most important thing that does is destroy this block. This block being destroyed means that when you load over here, this P-switch will be activated. And then everywhere else, there's just very simple P-switch repeaters that make sure that you can't wait it out. So why can you face left at all? Why does it have to be immediate? And that's because this disarms. So this is just a fire bar that pushes the Thwomp out of the way, and now it doesn't matter which direction I face, that's not going to activate anymore. Okay, so what else happens when this bomb explodes? The other thing that happens is that this spring is forced up slightly because of the on-off switch underneath it. And it will bounce this shell to break these two blocks and re-hit the on-off switch and then be destroyed. So we're gonna switch. We're not only gonna switch, we're gonna switch back when this happens. So we get a double switch, and that is how everything else works, is when there's a double switch, because normally you can only switch the switch once. Either you switch it here, or you switch it up here, but you can't get up here if you switch the switch already, and this disarms itself and doesn't work at all if you're in blue state. The only way to switch back from blue to red is going through here. I will then do a third switch to ensure that we are in blue state when we go through the end door. So that's all this is to just do a third switch. To make sure that we're in blue state if we've done the hold left thing. Because being in red state would make the other side just ridiculous. This is just sitting here below the visibility line, and after two switches, this is going to bounce up, raise everything up, and hit the POW automatically. This was weirdly difficult to work, but what I ended up with is really difficult to get to work. What I ended up with, I think, is pretty simple. So you get a POW, and that allows you to get out of here, and then we are in blue state again, so none of this works, and everything else in the room is disarmed. That was another hard part, is making sure that you can't do previous knowledge checkpoints, because in an earlier version, it was definitely kind of possible to do previous knowledge checkpoints in here after you've done another one, and now the only one that's still a problem, potentially, is mashing A, and I don't think there is a way to fix this, but if you mash A, you can still hit the switch, and it won't do anything for you, but it will ruin the knowledge checkpoint here. Like, you'll end up back in the first time through, which is not great. But I don't know a way to fix that, so I'm just leaving that. And I had a very prominent no on-off switch in the link room. The other thing that happens after it switches 3 times is that this conveyor is going to the right, which sends the mushroom down. Yeah, we are in blue state, so none of this is accessible. So even if you do the clip into here and melt the ice block, this muncher will just end up resting against that blue block right there. This claw is there to catch the Podoboo here, so that it doesn't keep going up and down and possibly kill the player, which I don't want. And that, I believe, is it. Questions? Anything that I missed? This is all, like, very condescending hints. Like, yes, to win the level, you have to touch the flagpole and then go into the castle, and then you get a flag. That's how you beat the level. This is fairly straightforward. These are just spawn blocked. Exactly where the bombs end up. There's a couple P-switch repeaters in here, so that has a P-switch in, and that also has a P-switch in for some reason, but is just there to continue the P-switch up into here. And I used to have a P-switch repeater here, but I don't anymore, because I actually want it to run out here. To make sure that you're not loading this next room with P-switch on. Which could pose some problems. This thing, when you clip in here in the hint room, this spawns a winged spring, which is gonna fly over here and activate on off. That's all that is, so that you can get in the door and do the thing. But yeah, that's that. And then my god-awful mess of random blocks and crap in the rest of the level. Oh, this was fun. I still have this setup in here. This is a thing that I found while working on this this room, and I had a setup to prevent the on-off switch from being triggered, but it wasn't working, and I kept stripping it away until I found this. Now let me turn off auto scroll so we can see it.
Here I go.
It just goes right through. Like,
Here I go.
for some reason, this specific sequence of cloud blocks and exact placement of this note block causes it to clip through. If I delete any one of these,
Here I go.
it will not clip through. But like with this, I had somehow stumbled into the exact like arrangement of cloud blocks to make that clip through. If any of y'all want to use this for a troll, you are welcome to. I cannot, I don't think I know a good way to make it, like, an actual troll, but, like, it's just a bizarre thing that happens. And it's very consistent. Wonder if it works in day mode, too?
Here I go.
Yeah, I think all it requires is that the spike ball is rolling left.
Here I go.
But yeah, very consistent. Anyway. That's that.